Hey guys, it's Cory from CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, and I just saw Green Book, written by Nick Vallelonga, Brian Currie, Peter Farrelly, and directed by Peter Farrelly. This flick, new theater, I got to see at the ArcLight Hollywood. I had been before. I had seen, before I started doing the reviews, I saw Fantastic Beasts there. It's a lovely theater. I really love the ArcLight. The only problem is that it's very expensive, and I would like to go there more, but like $18 for a ticket is just a little bit high for me most of the time. But this one just sort of worked out as far as timing goes. The Grammys were at Regal. We're at LA Live last night, so Regal was kind of out of the picture. But yes, definitely go see a movie at ArcLight if you get the chance. So the story of Green Book, Viggo Mortensen plays Tony Lip, an Italian from the Bronx who's working at the Copa and is, doing all right for himself, hustling, just trying to make things work. And when the Copa closes for renovations for a while, he's got to find some short-term work. And somebody puts him in touch with a driver job for Dr. Don Shirley. And then we find out that Dr. Don Shirley is black, and this is different for the Italian Tony Lip. And now we have to, once Tony gets hired and starts driving Dr. Shirley around, it becomes this odd couple driving Miss Daisy kind of thing about racism and how we treat each other in the Deep South and elsewhere. Up front, I really enjoyed this flick. I think that something that's sort of been sitting with me more and more, especially this year as a comparison to other years, is that this movie is good. It's Oscar fare for sure. It's in the same vein as like Driving Miss Daisy and other movies about racism and acceptance and everything like that. But especially in a year where you have Black Panther and BlacKkKlansman nominated for Best Picture, this one just sort of seems like it's sort of an ancient relic in a way. Like it's what movies about race used to be, and it's tough because it doesn't really feel like it says anything that everyone doesn't already kind of know. I mean, it's so. I heard something recently when somebody was talking about the blackface controversies of Ralph Northam and stuff like that. That a lot of people's reaction to this might be that it seems weird that blackface would still be a thing that's being talked about in 2019, and even though the picture was taken way before, anybody who's ever had any kind of interaction with racism in any kind of terms knows that it's still out there, and that's nothing. And the racism in this movie, even though it's not meant to sort of push too hard, it's not supposed to, it's not supposed to be Roots or anything like that, or 12 Years a Slave or something. It's meant to be a little bit more digestible. But yet it still sort of loses this ability to examine something new. And when we had romantic comedies sort of fall off, it was in large part because there wasn't anything new being said about it. It's not like there was these new love stories that were being told and people were going crazy about. And I feel like this is sort of that. It's just sort of like, it's a wonderful piece to go and enjoy, and I think that it does no harm, and if anything it does good, because it's a very well done version of a movie of this subject matter, but it just doesn't seem to change anything. Not like I expect great, outrageous change from Green Book, but it just felt like there was opportunities left on the table. And I think that if you're going to try and make a movie about race and racism and the things that we can do to become more inclusive as a society, then you owe it to yourself to try and push the boundaries a little bit further. So to me, this movie really breaks down to 4 main components. And, this is sort of similar to what you'll get in every movie, but we got director Peter Farrelly, we got star Viggo Mortensen, we got star Mahershala Ali, we have Linda Cardellini. Those are the 4 huge bright spots in this. And then everyone else in this movie sort of plays more of a bit role. There isn't anyone else who really, takes up massive amounts of screen time. I mean, the other members of Dr. Shirley's trio are throughout the movie a lot, but it doesn't really... They sort of come and go. It's not... It's the... Viggo and Mahershala are the main focus here. And... I mean, Mahershala Ali is just... incredible. And Viggo Mortensen does a fantastic job with Tony Lip. And I really enjoyed his wife... Dolores, Linda Cardellini as well. And as much as people give comedies shit, and as much as stupid screwball comedies like, Something About Mary or Dumb and Dumber or Kingpin or any of these becomes popular, comes out as released and people talk about it. We also try to... There seems to be this generalized effort to denigrate the work of the directors who do these works. And I've always liked the Farrelly brothers. And you can say that none of the movies have been particularly deep, but there have been many times where I've watched one of their movies and it's supposed to be a comedy or it's supposed to just be fun. And there's a little bit added sentimentality to it, a little bit more to get through. I mean, in particular, I love Fever Pitch. I thought that movie was, for all its flaws, was really good. And really, it said something at the end of the day. And obviously, that was based on a great book. This movie, by the Green Book, getting back to that, was in part written by Tony Lip's son, Nick, which I thought was really nice too. It'd be interesting to see if he has another story in his bag of tricks for screenwriting career, but for this one, not so bad. One last attaboy I'd like to give. This is a little bit further down on the call sheet, but Zachary Seifert as the first AC, I thought did a truly wonderful job. There's a lot of, as far as the filmmaking aspect of this goes, there's a lot of scenes where it's shot from the front of the car, and then it goes through to Tony Lip, and then Dr. Shirley in the back. And when the two of them are talking back and forth, you have to rack focus between the two. So it's between me, and it's between the guy who's behind me, and you're going back and forth between the two to keep whoever's talking in focus. And it's a very selfless job that not a lot of people get credit for. And I've always been amazed at working with a lot of talented first ACs who did such a wonderful job with it. And just a tip of the hat to Zachary Seifert. I would like to do more of this where I find people a little bit below the line who I think did a remarkable job. But just generally speaking, production-wise, everyone was right where they needed to be. Camera was great. Sound was great. Editing was great. Production design, the whole thing. None of it felt like reinventing the wheel, which doesn't need to happen. That's not the responsibility of, sound to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. That's Farrelly to express that he wants something different. But I think that the whole crew did a wonderful job and should be rewarded rewarded appropriately. I don't have a Steinway piano, but I do have a leaderboard. This is the first time that I've seen a movie at the ArcLight Hollywood, so onto the movie leaderboard. I will say that in comparison to other Oscar-nominated flicks, it's not at the top, but it's not at the bottom either. I mean, really, the range for me right now, and I still have the favorite left to see, but my range goes from Bohemian Rhapsody at the bottom to Roma at the top. This is right in between the two of them. There's no... I mean, and both of those were good to masterpiece films, but I mean, like, it's hard for me to say whether or not this movie is deserving of an Oscar Best Picture compared to the rest of the field, but I definitely understand why it's been nominated so much and why it's won so many awards and the things that lead up to the Oscars. If I had to give it a rating, though, I would give it an 8.3. Wasn't quite Into the Spider-Verse. I would still give the edge to Into the Spider-Verse, just personally speaking. But I think that Green Book is a good movie that will live on nicely. Like, I don't think it'll become as dated, and I think part of that, as much as I sort of critiqued the use of sort of a more tamed down story about race and equality, is something that's actually going to allow that to live on a little bit more, because if you go a little too hard, then it loses it a bit. But I also think that by not going for it, it lost its ability to go for sort of like higher rank. So it sort of played it safe there, but in a completely understandable, good way. Anyway, that's it for me. If you want more, you can go to my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendCB5 on Twitter and Instagram. Favorite is the last of the Best Picture nominees for me to see. This will be the first time in a couple years that I've actually seen all of them. Usually there's one that I miss along the way. But I will definitely see The Favorite. I will definitely do a review on it, and you will see it here shortly. But yeah, I think that's it. So, for me, I thank you. I really appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, do all those great things, comment. I always respond to every single comment. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next review. But if you don't mind, right now I have to drive around, eat fried chicken, and throw the bones out the window.